Is that video intentionally loud so it can be just like uh, audible to everybody, or we can wake up people? But yeah,
What? Sorry, yeah,
It's not morning everywhere.
exactly. Aaron, welcome, hello, and welcome here to another edition of this AWS On Air, a show where we talk about the latest and greatest in features on Amazon services, AWS services. And today we have Aaron Friedman with us, who's going to talk to us something about Amazon Code Guru. But before you do that, Aaron, tell us who you are, what do you do, where do you join us from, and why should we care?
Especially, where do you join us from? The
Yeah,
background looks amazing.
I'm in a very interesting spot right now. So my name's Aaron Friedman. I'm a product manager on Amazon Code Guru. I think the Warner just talked a little bit about what Amazon Code Guru does. We're going to talk about some new features that Amazon Code Guru just came out with at reInvent. And I am joining you from the Expo 4 at reInvent, which will be opened here for everyone, I think, later this afternoon.
Okay,
I'm really jealous.
Really jealous. Both of us couldn't join there, so
there's still a lot of work going on. So
that's right. That's what you just say that. Thank you so much.
Indeed. So okay, let's get to it. Aaron, what was the problem we were solving? Well, what is the problem this new thing you are launching is solving? Well, first of all, what are we launching, and what kind of a problem does it solve?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about the Amazon Code Guru Secrets Detector. So Amazon Code Guru is a service that can automatically find bugs in your Java and Python code. Before yesterday, those bugs were primarily in what we call the code quality category, or security vulnerabilities.
Right.
We added a new detector called the Secrets Detector that looks for hard-coded secrets. So these are things like API keys, access tokens, even database connection strings, or just passwords that are hard-coded in your Java or Python repository, and we can help you automatically detect those and prevent them from getting into a repo and letting that secret sort of sprawl.
Okay. I mean, having secrets being inside of your code base is always a problem, right? When I was really young and not so, let's say, experienced. I used to like hard code stuff I used to hard code secrets in my code because, hey, it's compiled. Nobody's gonna see that. So it wasn't really the best thing here. So my understanding is that Code Guru does that, right? It kind of detects potential API keys and what's your connection strings and passwords.
Very often we still have in many applications,
right,
database username password combinations to access the database, and these are either in configuration files, which is debatable. There are better ways to do that, but also in actual codes, really hard coded, where you have the actual connection string and the credentials inside of the code base. And this is what that detects for you.
That's right. Yeah, we've seen both the hard coded, where it's actually in a line of Java and Python, or as you mentioned, very common to put these in a YAML file or a config file for something like a build system or continuous integration.
Yeah. And so, Aaron, how did the customers used to do before this new feature? So before we had Code Guru detect these things, how did customers go about and find secrets in their code? Did they just review it manually, or?
Yeah, so there are a handful of sort of open source tools that can help you do this. Trufflehog is one we hear commonly.
Mm-hmm.
But many of the customers we've talked to were just sort of relying on manual code reviews. It's a coding best practice not to hard code your password, and in that Git development flow, you have your code reviewer looking for these kinds of coding errors.
Right.
I mean, we're all guilty. I'm guilty of that. I did that before, and I even had an incident years ago where I actually accidentally submitted something into a repository that had included credentials, and this is something that you generally want to avoid.
Right.
What does Code Guru do once it finds something like that?
So let's see. We've teamed up with AWS Secrets Manager, which is the secret store service,
right,
to help developers solve this hard-coded secrets problem in a sort of complete way. So when we find a hard-coded secret in your code,
Right.
you'll get what we call an actionable recommendation. It tells you, hey, this is the problem we see. This is why it's an issue.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a link to some documentation to tell you more about it. And in this case, with hard-coded secrets, we actually give the developer a button to hop into AWS Secrets Manager, which can walk them through in sort of a point-and-click experience, all the steps they need to securely store that secret, even rotate it if they need to.
Yeah.
And then add Secrets Manager will actually give the developer a snippet of code that they can, in many cases, just add directly to their application that will use the AWS SDK to pull that secret from Secrets Manager at runtime.
There's a question actually on chat from RMOSWI. Will CodeGuru refactor the code to use AWS Secrets Manager? Will it give you a snippet? I mean, I guess this comes from Secrets Manager there, right?
Yeah. So Secrets Manager will give you that snippet, and then it is up to the developer to sort of copy and paste that and open the make a commit to their pull request.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want CodeGuru to mess with my code. However, what's really nice here is the fact that it doesn't just tell you you're doing it wrong.
Right.
It tells you how can you do it better? What would be a good way to deal with credentials inside of your code base? And that's really nice.
Indeed. No, so Aaron, we can talk about this all day. How about you show us something, right?
Okay.
Are you able to show us like a demo of this thing? So
yeah,
bring up your screen share. So
let's take a look.
Well, Aaron sets up his screen share. Just to let you know, like when we talk about Secrets Manager here, it's a wonderful service that basically helps you store and rotate your secrets. So it is just a chef's kiss service, especially when you wanna avoid hard coding secrets into your code base. I'm gonna bring up your
We have a good question here. What languages does it support? So AWS CodeGuru, Aaron, as far as I know, right now it supports Python and Java. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Okay, so there's your answer. Okay, so I'm going to bring up your screen here and take us through, tell us what you're going to be showing us.
Yeah, so
show us.
Yeah, so we're gonna just walk through the sort of experience that you would get, particularly if you're coming from Secrets Manager. So we have a lot of customers that are starting with Secrets Manager and using that to store and rotate their credentials.
Right.
When those customers come to Secrets Manager, we give them a path to say, hey, why don't you come to CodeGuru, scan your repository, and just make sure that you're starting from a clean slate, that you don't have any lingering issues with hard-coded secrets in your code. So we'll walk through that experience, and then we'll go all the way to onboarding a application onto CodeGuru and scanning it for hard-coded secrets, and then we'll see what that comes up with.
Okay, take us through it.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm going to start from the Secrets Manager service.
Okay.
And this is what I mentioned, that if you're going to come to Secrets Manager and store some secrets, or start to set up rotation for your secrets, we do have under the related services sort of block, we have a link to Amazon CodeGuru, and this will put you right into the CodeGuru console, and put you right into a couple-step process to add a repository, add a Python or Java repository, and scan it for secrets. We'll also scan it for all of those code quality and security vulnerabilities that CodeGuru looks for, but this will since you're coming from Secrets Manager, we'll sort of prioritize those any secrets that we find. So I'll click on that. This will bring me over to CodeGuru, and it'll tell me that I need to associate a repository and create a code review. So Amazon CodeGuru Reviewer you can take a repository from any one of these service providers, AWS Code Commit, Bitbucket, GitHub, and hook it up to do what we call a full repository analysis, which is what I'm going to show here. We also will analyze your pull requests. So as developers continue to to add code or fix bugs in that in this repository. We'll look at those pull requests and we'll look at the diffs and make sure that the new security issues or new code quality issues aren't introduced, or they're not introducing new secrets, those sorts of things.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and connect my GitHub account. This is just a handshake with GitHub.
Yeah.
And then I need to pick the repository. This will pull all the repositories I have in GitHub.
Okay.
I'm going to use this repository today called HawkCD. There's actually a blog post for Secrets Manager that we put out last night that has a link to the HawkCD repository in it if you wanted to try this on your own. And then we need to tell it what branch we want to analyze. So today we're gonna analyze the master branch. There are some optional things here. We can give it a name. And then when I click this orange button, associate repository and run analysis, we're going to do two things. We're going to create an association with this repository. We're going to add it to my CodeGuru account. And that is a long-running association. So we'll continue to look at the pull requests, any pull requests in the future on this repository. And it'll kick off this analysis.
Okay. So does it look at all the code in that repository, right?
Yeah. So
okay.
Yes, when I run this initial analysis, we're looking at everything.
Okay.
And then in the future we'll continue to look at those pull requests.
Got it.
So it only looks it analyzes the diff from for additional pull requests, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay, that's awesome. And like, I mean, I guess it only looks at your Java or Python code there, and if it has other code, it just skips that. I guess, right? It's smart enough to not look at non-Java and Python code.
Yeah. So we're looking at Java and Python code, and also, so we mentioned that secrets frequently get put into configuration files, and even documentation files, and those sorts of things. So there's a number of configuration files and documentation files that will look for secrets specifically.
Okay. And so, can you show us how does it actually look like once it's actually deployed? Once we have these pull requests and all that stuff. So once it's done.
Yeah. So it does take a couple minutes to run this analysis. So I'm going to pretend like I'm on a cooking show and I'm just going to pull the thing out that's already done. But once that analysis runs, you'll see a list of all the sort of full repository analyses that you've run in your code. There's actually a sort of handy link here to a demo.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone will have this demo in their CodeGuru account. It says demo full repository analysis secrets. This is a demo analysis that shows you just even if you don't have a repository lying around that has some hard-coded secrets in it, you just want to see what it looks like. Yeah, you can click here and see what those results would look like. And then we have this demo repository on GitHub, and you can actually go see what it looks like in the code. But we did run a real live example today with this HawkCD repository. So once that's done analyzing, like I said, it takes 5 to 10 minutes, depending on the repository size and some other factors.
Right.
We can click on that repository analysis. I'm gonna filter the results to type equals secrets. We can see we found 43 recommendations.
43. Got it.
Yeah.
But no, this is before we continue. This is just your standard CodeGuru review. So it's not like a specific review for secrets in this case, but it will find secrets once you do the code review. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. And so well, we can see that we did find one finding here that was a hard-coded secret. So this is what I was talking about. That's like sort of an actionable recommendation. We're telling you, hey, that in this file, .travis.yaml on line 18, there appears to be a hard-coded secret.
Okay.
And we're giving you some information about hard-coded secrets. And then we have this protect your credential button. Before I go click that, I just want to show you what this sort of looks like in code.
Okay.
So if I click this where it says .travis.yaml, this will take me to GitHub and directly to that line. So we can see here that there's a YAML file for Travis CI, and there's a hard-coded AWS access key in here.
Okay.
So obviously this isn't something you would want to do. And in this case, this is an access key that just that Travis is using. So we can go ahead and move that into Secrets Manager. Obviously, the SDK in this application needs some sort of.
It needs, yeah.
It needs to be bootstrapped with some sort of credential to go and get this access key. But
and like, is there a way to like mark it as a false positive, or like this is okay? I mean, I know you should never store your credentials in repos, but like, let's say that there's no other way. Can you just say like, yeah, this is fine?
Yeah, and that's this thumbs up and thumbs down is your way of sort of telling us, hey, this was you found a great issue for me, and I'm gonna go ahead and fix it right now. Or hey, this was this wasn't exactly what you thought you found. There's definitely, once we get into some of the code quality and other kind of issues, there's more gray area. And if you want to tell us, hey, this isn't a good issue, you can thumbs down, and that'll help us.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, everybody knows changing those lint templates that you usually have. The defaults very often are not they are good to start with, but every code base has their own issues. However, every development team accepts certain things and doesn't accept other things. I've got one quick question for you. I'm going to pull it up here real quick from JavaSoft. Does CodeGuru integrate with on-prem GitHub Enterprise as well?
Yes.
Or is it just for basically repositories hosted in the cloud?
Yeah, we support GitHub Enterprise.
Okay. So you can do GitHub Enterprise as well. So there were 4 options I saw: Code Commit, Bitbucket, GitHub, and GitHub Enterprise. That's the ones I've seen, right? Okay, good. Awesome. Right. So Aaron, this basically is available right now, so people can just go in and just use it, right?
Yeah, and we have. That's great, and we have exactly a question around that. Are these new services, this and the Bug Bust, available to Prime members, students? Do you have any promotions? I think they are available to everyone. You don't need to be an Amazon Prime member. You can just open an AWS account and use CodeGuru. But that leads us into an interesting question that I always like to ask. What does that cost? What's the price point here?
Well, that's a great question that leads us into, we have a great free tier. So if you're new to the CodeGuru service, you can analyze repositories up to 100,000 lines of code free for your first 90 days, which is a great way to just to sort of to test things out, see if you have any hard-coded secrets, maybe clean some issues up, and then if the service is useful, we'll continue to look at those pull requests for you.
Excellent. So, Aaron, thank you very much. Everybody else, if you want to check out CodeGuru Secrets Reviewer, if you want to make sure that CodeGuru looks at your secrets, finds potential secrets in your code and helps you avoid those security issues, make sure to check it out. It's available right now on Amazon CodeGuru. It's part of its review, so a great, wonderful thing to have a look at here. Aaron, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to have something fun coming up right now. We're going to be looking at some chatbot wonders here. But before we get into that, the loud intro is coming. And I'm sorry. See you in a bit.